What is up, guys? Londrick here, and now I'm back with an audio video. Kind of a 2-for-1 today. So obviously the main part of this is rebooking WrestleMania 15. Did WrestleMania 30 last week, that got a good response. So I'm going to go ahead and start doing a few more. But before that, I'm going to go over my thoughts on Daniel Bryan getting cleared to return. Don't really have time to do a proper 2 pence like about everything in wrestling. But this is really such a bigger story that I really need to talk about it. So I'm going to talk about that for a few minutes. Then after that, we'll get into the main event, which is rebooting WrestleMania 15. So 2 days ago now, it's Thursday today, Tuesday, and now probably afternoon. Got off. I looked at my phone about 7:30. Oh, boom! What? Daniel Bryan cleared to return? So obviously you go on Twitter and all that and you find out and you're like, yeah, apparently Daniel Bryan has been cleared to return. So yeah, obviously you go through and confirm the news. Yes, wow, this is big. This is a big deal. So obviously you know what happened. Daniel Bryan went down for concussion in 2015. Career was up in the air for so long. WWE weren't clearing him, and then obviously February 2016, Daniel Bryan announced his retirement from WWE and wrestling. And I'll probably say over the last year, Daniel Bryan's made more and more noise about wanting to wrestle again, but WWE haven't let him. And then I suppose, now it's back. He's back. So WWE sent him to. They said he sent him to the 3 top brain specialists in the United States, and then every single doctor cleared him. So then the WWE doctor cleared him, and now he's back. So this is big news. After 3 years out of the ring, Daniel Bryan's coming back, most likely at WrestleMania, to be in a tag team match with Shane McMahon against Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. And for me, I'm excited but cautious about this. I mean, obviously, there's the reason Daniel Bryan had to stop wrestling, because he was obviously he had massive history of concussions and all that sort of thing. Most notably, he'd had seizures and all that in the past. Had a lot of concussions in his career, and that's why he wasn't allowed to wrestle ultimately. Now by all accounts, he's been seeing specialists and getting stuff done. So maybe his brain's back to 100% now. So just remember, Daniel Bryan retired because of that. So I am cautious about him coming back, because let's be honest, one big setback now could be devastating for him. I mean, I really don't want Daniel Bryan to go too far and then spend the rest of his life pretty much as a vegetable. I don't want to have massive brain damage, especially now he's got a kid to look after and all that. But can't deny the prospect of Daniel Bryan returning to WWE ring is exciting. I mean, we were all there for the yes move, and that was awesome. We all loved him. Daniel Bryan's still over as fuck, so you can't say Daniel Bryan coming back won't make WWE better, because it will. It's good for the WWE, and good for Bryan, I think, because I feel like at least at WWE he can wrestle safer matches and all that. I think the prospect of him going to New Japan and getting dropped in his head 10 times a match, getting kneed in the fucking face 100 times a match. I mean, the prospect of Daniel Bryan going out there and having a Kenny Omega style match terrifies the shit out of me, because obviously taking stuff like dragon suplexes on the ring apron, backwards Hurricane Ranas on the floor, all the V-triggers people like Kenny Omega do, that would terrify the shit out of me to see Daniel Bryan doing that. So now he's in the WWE. Hopefully WWE will do a good job of protecting him and working around him. The one thing I think this is probably not going to be a full-time comeback. I think some people might be under the impression he's coming back and doing the 250 day years on the road schedule. I don't think that'll be the case, because obviously I just don't think he's healthy enough to do the old schedule that he used to do anymore. So I'm under the impression it's going to be like a part-time comeback, at least for now anyway, at least in the beginning. So you're looking at probably 4 to 6 matches a year. So it's not going to be like Daniel Bryan every pay-per-view, every SmackDown, all the house shows, that sort of thing. So I don't think that's going to be the case. I think it's definitely going to be a part-time comeback, which I think is for the best, at least the first. I would say, at least in the beginning, ease him back in, don't make him wrestle all the time, and see how he does. See, obviously, especially this tag, I was starting him off in the tag match. It's a good way to start, ease him back in, see how he comes through. I suppose it's a bit like when Shawn Michaels came back, isn't it, really, if you remember? Shawn Michaels in 2002, that was intended as a part-time comeback. Shawn wrestled a few matches, and then mid-2003, realising he could still go and he could still physically handle it, he started wrestling more and more, and obviously then he had a great run after that. So we'll see what happens. Now the question is, what can Daniel Bryan do? I mean, I think the best, keep on SmackDown for me anyway. I feel like SmackDown would be better off with Daniel Bryan's star power. I feel like Raw has enough stars right now with Roman Reigns, Braun Strowman, Seth Rollins, Finn Balor, The Miz, etc. Obviously they've got Dean Ambrose to come back, Samoa Joe to come back. They'll probably get one of the big call-ups in NXT like Drew McIntyre or Andrade and Almas. So I feel like Raw has enough quality in that show that they don't really need Daniel Bryan, whereas I think SmackDown do. So what sort of stuff can we see Bryan do? I think obviously the first few they'll do the Kevin Owens, and because obviously I can see that WrestleMania match, because obviously storyline wise Owens and Zayn is off now because they got fired. So I can see Shane McMahon reinstating them and then putting them in a match at WrestleMania with Daniel Bryan and Shane McMahon. So that'd be a good starting point. And then obviously, I think the big one that we have to see, I think The Miz has to come back to SmackDown in the shake-up and do the Miz Daniel Bryan feud, because obviously the whole all things that happened in 2016 never got blown off, did they not? So now's your chance to follow up on with great promos and a great story. I mean, yeah, granted, there's obviously better technical matches for Daniel Bryan to have, but the Miz, him and the Miz have such a big history together. There's such a great story there. Some of the promos could be epic, and the matches will be really good probably. Because obviously the Miz in the ring. The Miz has come a hell of a long way the last few years to when Daniel Bryan and the Miz first wrestled back in 2010. So that should be great. Then obviously you got the prospect of Bryan wrestling Owens and Zayn in singles matches, because he never have in WWE. He might have done in Ring of Honor and in other independents, but I can't remember. I mean, let's face it, Daniel Bryan, Sami Zayn could tear the house down. Then I think the match everybody wants to see, Daniel Bryan, Shinsuke Nakamura, that's a big dream match. Now it's a reality, a strong possibility now. That should be fucking awesome. And for me anyway, I think the one I'd really like to see is Daniel Bryan versus Kurt Angle. Yeah, Kurt Angle's not in his prime anymore, and obviously Daniel Bryan, we'll see how he goes, but I feel like if they just had a mat wrestling match where they just wrestled on the mat for 20 minutes, that could be a tremendous match, it really could. And it could be a fitting last match for Kurt Angle to have with Daniel Bryan, because I feel like that's the match everyone wants to see. And then, who knows, we'll see how it goes, but Bryan AJ, that'd be cool, but wouldn't be one of my first choices, because like seen this match in the independent scene quite a bit. So and then that's so I've got, but really I have two messages, and one for you, Daniel Bryan. That's just be safe. Just be safe. Safety first. I mean, one of the big reasons we loved you, Bryan, is because you used to work so hard in the ring, and that's why you're popular, but you don't need to be doing that anymore. I mean, for the love of God, right? just be careful. Be safe out there. I mean, safety first. Start working smarter, not harder. I mean, you don't need to do all this crazy shit you used to do. Remember the reason why you lost your career to begin with, because of injuries, because of your style and all that here. So, north diving headbutts. That move, cut it out. Don't need to do it. Not necessary. You're still over without a diving headbutt. Cut the unnecessary dives out. I would say. Don't eliminate dives entirely, but definitely limit them to big pay-per-view matches only, like WrestleManias and stuff. You don't need to be doing that every match, and for the love of God, I do not want to see any spots of you stood in the ring exchanging headbutts with people in the ring. I mean, you look back, remember WrestleMania when he was on the ladder doing headbutt spots with Dolph Ziggler? Oh, and remember why you actually got your big concussion in the first place. You got hurt because you headbutted Sheamus. Not because Sheamus headbutted you. You headbutted Sheamus and got a concussion, so remember that. So, just slow down, have your style, have a nice, safer style, because worst thing that can happen, Daniel Bryan can come in there all guns blazing, doing all this shit, and then 2 or 3 matches in, get another concussion, and if you got another concussion, that could be like, so good. Remember, you've got a wife, you've got a kid to think about now, so be careful that you're doing this for the right reasons. Do it for them. Do it. Just be safe, basically, and then message for the fans as well. Just realise that Daniel Bryan hasn't wrestled properly in 3 years. I mean, and before 2015, he was injured for a long time in 2014 as well. So don't sit there and think, oh, the WWE's going to instantly make Daniel Bryan the guy. They're not. And don't cry about it if Daniel Bryan's not immediately the WWE champion in the main event. Because, let's face it, WWE, they can't go putting titles on Daniel Bryan right away, because his last 2 championships, he had to vacate them due to injury, didn't he? So be realistic in your expectations of what they're going to do with Bryan. I mean, for me, Bryan has to go about a full year proving his fitness to the WWE before they even think about putting the title on him, before they even think about having a main event at WrestleMania again. He's got to show his fitness. I mean, because the worst thing that can happen, WWE cave in, give Bryan the big push, Bryan gets injured again, and then you have to vacate another title. So Daniel Bryan really has to prove his fitness before WWE could push him strong again. I think for now they're going to push him as an attraction, and that's fine. And I just hope this whole annoying YWC arguments don't start with Daniel Bryan fans and Roman Reigns fans and fans calling Bryan marks losers and all that, and then Bryan fans go, oh, well, you just like big muscle marks, you just like big sweaty men. I don't want to think any of that. So just enjoy the fact that Daniel Bryan's back in the ring, and just enjoy his matches and all that, and don't get too caught up in him main event in WrestleMania or not main event in WrestleMania, or being the guy and not being the guy. So yeah, it's pretty much it really. I mean, so I'm quite excited to see where this goes, but I just hope it turns out well for him. I really do. I hope this isn't a mistake, and I hope Bryan just gets through this fine. So that's the Daniel Bryan situation out the way. Now into the main event, and that's Rebooking Wrestlemania 15, which is WrestleMania 15, which of course one of the absolute worst WrestleManias of all time, in what was one of the hottest time periods in the history of the company as well. I mean, I'm still pretty like shit on 1999, but did you see the ratings in 1999? Did you see the house show numbers? See the pay-per-view numbers? Business was absolutely booming for the WWF in 1999. Everything they did was just pure gold. And the biggest show of the year was an absolute dud for some bad reasons. So let's look at the real card. We had Stone Cold versus The Rock for the WWF Championship. Undertaker versus the Big Boss Man in Hell in a Cell. Shane McMahon versus X-Pac for the European title. Mankind versus The Big Show for the right of the referee in the main event, which that was a bit of a Russo mess storyline, wasn't it? Triple H versus Kane. Intercontinental title, Road Dogg versus Val Venus versus Goldust versus Ken Shamrock. Hardcore Championship, Billy Gunn versus Al Snow versus Hardcore Holly. Women's title, Sable versus Tori. Brawl for All, Bart Gunn versus Butterbean. Yep, that's not on this show, by the way. That entire thing's scrapped. And for the direct tag team titles, Jeff Jarrett and Owen Hart versus D'Lo Brown and Test. So, the question is, can I take this WrestleMania and make it a good one, or even a great one? Well, let's find out. One thing I should mention first, though, is there is a casualty in this rebooking. And that casualty is D'Lo Brown. He was probably the one fairly important guy that I could not find a spot for in this WrestleMania. So, hope I don't have die-hard D'Lo fans taking me to task. I don't want to get the lowdown from D'Lo Brown fans. So, if you're a massive D'Lo Brown mark, I apologise. Your hero's not on this show. So, opening match for the WWF Hardcore Championship, Hardcore Holly versus Al Snow. So, taking the original match, taking Billy going out the match, and making it a singles match. And in another one, Hardcore Holly does not lose a title on Raw. So, Hardcore Holly's been the champion since from St. Valentine's Day Massacre. And his big pay-per-view title defense against Al Snow, continuing the feud to start the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. Give them 8 or 9, 10 minutes to open up the show. Do the usual hardcore shit which was popular at the time, with weapons and all that. I mean, the hardcore division was actually quite popular back then. Obviously, hardcore wrestling was more in this era. So, and then for the finish, have Al Snow defeat Hardcore Holly to win the hardcore title at WrestleMania 15. I don't realise Snow won the title at Backlash, but I feel like having to win the title at WrestleMania would just be better overall. I think that'd be just a better way to go. So, Al Snow defeats Bob Holly in the opening match to win the hardcore title. Match number 2 for the WWF Tag Team titles. We have what do we have? Owen Hart and Jeff Jarrett versus the Acolytes. So, I hated that concept we did in real life with the Battle Royal before WrestleMania with D'Lo Brown and Test winning to be a makeshift team in this match, because it was just random, and D'Lo and Test didn't really have any chemistry as a tag team. And there was a few tag teams that were pretty much left off the show. I mean, I briefly considered putting the Hardy Boys in that spot, but the Hardy Boys were relatively nobodies at that time. Was thinking about going with the Brood, but then I remembered Edge and Christian hadn't really started teaming up till later in 1999, and I didn't really fancy Edge and Gangrel, so I went for the Acolytes. They were part of the Ministry of Darkness at the time. They were somewhat over. I mean, they would get more over later on, but I say, hell, just throw them in there. Doesn't really need to be a storyline behind this, just the Acolytes are the number 1 contenders. Jeff and Owen are the champions, the technical wrestlers versus the big bad brawlers. And I know it's heel versus heel, but in real life we had a heel versus heel match in this show, and Undertaker Boss Man, and Test was a heel as well, so that's not a big issue for me. I think this match would have been okay. I mean, at least a decent match. I don't think it would have been a great match or anything like that, or that memorable, but it'd be good for the show. And obviously I feel like Owen and Jeff can retain the tag team titles here, because I don't think Acolytes need them quite yet. And obviously Owen and Jeff dropping the titles to Kane and X-Pac later on was actually better overall. So yeah, match number 3 for the Intercontinental title, Val Venus versus Goldust versus Ken Shamrock. So again, like in the opening match, I took what they did in real life and shortened it, took the Road Dogg out. And another big one, this is what I've tried to do throughout the show, is cut out some of the unnecessary, because I feel like one thing you can criticise 1999 about, there was a lot of unnecessary title changes. And so about, like like a hardcore Holly, Val Venus is still the Intercontinental Champion from St. Valentine's Day Massacre. Because obviously in the build-up, Val Venus dropped the title to the Road Dogg, so Val already had the title for about 2 or 3 weeks. So I say give Val Venus a little bit more time with the title, let him walk into WrestleMania as the champion. Have the storyline the same with Val and Shamrock's sister and all that. Val can dump Ryan like he did in real life, and then Ryan can start hanging around with Goldust. So you've got this triangle. Everyone in the match has a connection to Ryan Shamrock somehow. Take the Road Dogg out of it, because I don't feel... Obviously I went over plan for the Outlaws, which you'll find out in a minute. So take the real match and then just shorten it to a triple threat match. Keep the title on Val in the build up, and give Goldust the Intercontinental title at WrestleMania, because in real life Goldust beat the Road Dogg the next night in Raw anyway. So I feel like if they would have put the title on the Goldust anyway, might as well have done it at WrestleMania, mightn't you really? So Goldust defeats Val. So Goldust can pin Val. Maybe Ryan Shamrock can distract him. Goldust can hit Val Venus with a low blow, hits the curtain call, and then becomes the new Intercontinental Champion at WrestleMania. Now, match number 4, which is an interesting one, I think. Street Fight, Mankind versus Mr. McMahon. So, Vince McMahon's going to wrestle on this WrestleMania. His real WrestleMania in-ring debuts at WrestleMania 17. But in my rebooking, he's wrestling at WrestleMania 15 against Mankind. And obviously, it's a better match of Mankind, because that Big Show match kind of sucked. And that getting into the referee, the main event, kind of sucked as well. So the whole Mankind Rock feud can go down the same as it did in real life. And obviously the night after St. Valentine's Day Massacre, Mankind gets screwed out of the WWF title when the Big Show chokes him off the ladder. Then the next week, Mankind cut a promo about how everything he's worked for and all that. I mean, he was never supposed to be a WWF superstar, but he made it, and damn sure wasn't supposed to be the WWF champion, but Mankind made it. And there's one man who's been trying to screw him for months and screw up his career, and that's you, Mr. McMahon. All I ever did was love you. I tried everything to get you to respect me, but you don't respect me, and I don't respect you. So kind of get Mankind to be a little bit more aggressive, more of the old Mankind Cactus Jack. So Mankind is pissed. He goes, it's going to have to come down to it, Vinny. I want you in the ring at WrestleMania. And Vince was like, you want me? You think I'm going to waste my time for a mutilated freak like you? Well, Vince can turn down the challenge, only to be thwarted by Commissioner Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels can come to Titantron, because Shawn was doing the commissioner thing at the time, and he can say, you know what, Vin, man? What did I tell you? You don't have the authority to make the matches for WrestleMania. I do. And then, Mick, you want Mick McMahon in the ring? You got him. And then, furthermore, Vinny, I know what you might be thinking. I can have this match and I can have all the corporate team interfere. Well, that's not going to happen, because all the members of the corporation, in fact, any WWF superstar who interferes in this match is fired on the spot. And obviously Vince is like, can do his, his daft facial expressions that he does and all that sort of thing, his daft reactions and all that. So Street Fight is on, Mankind versus Vince McMahon, no corporate members, it's Vince and Mankind alone in the ring. This will be an entertaining match, I think. I mean, obviously, with it being a hardcore match, you can do more things to hide Vince's limitations and even Foley's physical limitations at the time, because this was a time Mick Foley's career started catching up on him. All the stuff he'd done in the past was really beginning to take a toll, and he just wasn't the same guy had been in the past. I'd say give it 12, maybe 14 minutes. This match obviously doesn't need to go on too long, because if it went like over 20-25 minutes, the match would probably suck, wouldn't it, really? Then obviously the babyface goes over Mankind, gets revenge on McMahon for all the things he'd done to him. Socko, Mandible Claw, all that sort of thing. Mankind defeats Vince McMahon. Now, match number 5, we've got a 8-man tag team match. D-Generation X, Triple H, X-Pac and the New Age Outlaws taking on the Corporation, Shane McMahon, Kane, China and the Big Boss Man. So yeah, just kind of take Triple H and Kane, then X-Pac and Shane, combine them together, add the Outlaws in, and then you got yourself a nice 8-man tag match, because I think there's a nice 8-man tag match anyway. So obviously all the shit that happened, like China turning on Triple H and joining the Corporation, Shane McMahon becoming the European Champion and all that, all the stuff with Kane falling for China and all that, and Triple H putting the fireball in China's face, Kane getting emotional, all that can still happen. The build-up doesn't need to change that much, really. Just make it a big combined feud, because I do like a good faction feud from time to time. I feel like this was a good one that they kind of played up on a bit, but it didn't do full scale. I remember vividly the Corporate Royal Rumble they did in January 1999. That was probably one of the more cooler things. I really liked that at the time when I was a kid. And obviously, from when I was thinking about this, did DX as a group never had a WrestleMania match, did they? Obviously, in the history, it was usually Shawn and Triple H would have a match, separate matches of 14. The Road Dogg and X-Pac had a tag match at WrestleMania 2000, but obviously Triple H was in the main event that night, and then DX revivals after that never really coincided with a WrestleMania. I mean, Shawn Michaels represented DX at WrestleMania 23, but that was in the singles main event against Cena, wasn't it? So, put this match together, this would probably just be an entertaining match. I mean, obviously, these multi-man matches, you don't really need to do a lot, just let the guys come and do stuff in short bursts and tag out. And for the finish, what I've got to do is, so basically the Triple H heel turn happens. I mean, Triple H turns on X-Pac, gives him the pedigree, and then Triple H turns his back on DX and joins the Corporation like he didn't realise, but tone it down, I mean, because what Russo did when he was writing is he had China turn babyface earlier in the night to go back to DX, and then like less than an hour later, her and Triple H turn heel to join the Corporation. So I just feel like cut the first heel turn off for face turn off for China, and just do it so Triple H turns heel by himself and joins the Corporation. So it's a bit less confusing that way. So yeah, and obviously after that, the rest is history. Triple H turned heel, morphed into the game and became a huge superstar after that. So obviously you keep the Triple H heel turn because it was a good thing. And then match number 6, Sable vs Tori for the women's title, because filler, just put a filler match out there. And of course, Sable was such a huge star at the time, you couldn't really leave her out for WrestleMania, regardless of whether she could actually wrestle or not, which she couldn't. But Sable was a huge star in 98, 99. A huge star, actually. And obviously it's around the time Sable was in Playboy, so and there's no one else really for Sable to wrestle, to be honest. I mean, she'd been through Jacqueline, she'd been through Luna, so why the hell not just keep the Tori match? I mean, match as it was, I mean, yeah, granted the match was shit, but I'm willing to take a hit on this one, have a bad match on the card. So just, yeah, everything about this match is real life. Sable goes over, retain the title. Then we got match number 7, streak match, The Undertaker versus The Big Show. So the storyline of Undertaker and Vince remains exactly the same. The Ministry of Darkness trying to take over the WWF. All the weird stuff the Undertaker was doing with Vince's house and all that. That all stays the same. That storyline doesn't need to be changed, but just change the match to putting the Big Show in there instead of Big Boss Man, because I like the Big Boss Man, I actually do. I mean, I was actually quite a big fan of him back when I was first started watching wrestling as a little kid, but I just don't feel like the Big Boss Man belonged in the ring with the Undertaker at WrestleMania. I mean, I think Boss Man was definitely a level below the Undertaker in status, stuff like that. Even as like a 12-year-old watching this, I kind of knew Big Boss Man wasn't on the Undertaker's level. So basically Vince just, instead of the Big Boss Man, he gets the biggest son of a bitch in the corporation, the Big Show, against The Undertaker. And this match is not a Hell in a Cell match either. Just obviously, I feel like that match, Taker Boss Man, just did not require a Hell in a Cell at all. I mean, and obviously it was the worst Hell in a Cell match ever. But yeah, like I said, it just didn't feel like good enough to be a Hell in a Cell match or important enough for me. You had the first two, Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, Undertaker, Mankind, and then obviously until he started doing the theme Hell in a Cell pay-per-views, most of the Hell in a Cell matches after this were big feuds that warranted a Hell in a Cell. I mean, you had a few misses along the way, such as Triple H and Chris Jericho, and Triple H and Kevin Nash, but until 2009, the Hell in a Cell matches were big gimmick matches which settled major feuds, so this is just a one-on-one match. And the match will probably be alright. I wouldn't say it'll be classic street match or anything, but be a hell of a lot better than Undertaker Big Boss Man, that's for sure. And of course, with this being the street the Undertaker has to go over, which I know might not be ideal to job the Big Show out in his first ever pay-per-view match, but in real life, WWF jobbed him out with Stone Cold on free television, so is this really any worse than that? So Undertaker defeats the Big Show to go 8-0, I think. Whatever number he was at anyway. Then of course, main event, Austin versus The Rock for the WWF Championship. No need to change this one. This match was great. The build-up was good. Two biggest stars in the business, Austin and The Rock, top heel versus top babyface. This stays the same. No changes, nothing about the build-up changes, just keep it as it is. Obviously this was part one of the big trilogy of WrestleMania matches, so this stays the same. Rock walks in the champion, Austin the challenger. The match exactly the same. Stone Cold wins the WWF Championship to close out WrestleMania 15. So that's another rebooking done. So that's WrestleMania 15 done. I've decided on the next one, and I wasn't going to do this until later, but a couple of people mentioned it, right? More than a couple of people mentioned it, actually. And it's going to be WrestleMania 32, which will be sometime next week. And I'm just going to leave this teaser with you before I go. For this WrestleMania rebooting to work, WrestleMania 32, I'm going to have to rebook and change a couple of big changes from 2015. So I'll let that one sink into here. And that's a wrap, guys. And until next time, peace.